Just wanted to give insight to anyone who is a job seeker or just looking to keep themselves marketable so they can be empowered in their next career move. So happy to kind of just offer general insight, but if anybody wants to raise their hands and start with any specific questions, want to make sure I'm being most efficient with our time here. Any specific questions so far? If not, I can just start jumping in with some insight. Okay. All right. Well, don't feel free to raise your hand if you think of any questions along the way. But I guess the first thing I'll talk about is marketable skills that I'm seeing that are actively sought after in today's job market, and what I'm seeing is not as sought after. Um, One thing that's really been taking off in this market over the past few months of 2026 is Power Platform engineering. I'm seeing a huge demand there. Um, Last year, I filled maybe 2 Power Platform roles. This year, I've already filled 8 to 10. So definitely a big demand for people from any background who can come in, gather requirements from non-technical end users on how to turn mainly manual processes into something that is automated with Power Platform, specifically with Power Apps and Power Automate. Power BI is also highly in demand as well. But these are skills that are easy to teach yourself if they're not in your toolkit so far. So you can play around with Power Platform on your own time. You can use Microsoft Learn to get up to speed, but it's really marketable, whether you come from a business analyst background, a more technical engineering background, or you're brand new into IT. I can guarantee that that'll be a good return on investment from spending time learning those skills. Um, Something that I've been seeing that's a little bit harder to market. Oh, there's my camera. In today's job market is project management positions are pretty hard to come by right now. I have amazing project managers who I've been working with for years who used to be able to get a job, without even trying, are really struggling on the job market and taking months, if not over a year, to find a new job. So if you come from a more project management background, I'm happy to talk to you about how you can market yourself to get the right kind of roles. Instead of project manager jobs, I see more product owners, more delivery leads, release managers. Those are jobs that are more in demand that directly pull from a project manager skill set. So that's a good way to pivot. Coming from a more SQL focus, as most of the people here are data focused, I find that they want data people right now who can wear a lot of different hats, right? Who can offer something for design, for example, but also be the one to do the data engineering work. So kind of showing that you can be that Swiss Army knife who can be adaptable and work with people and come up with solutions is how you want to kind of market yourself in today's market. So that means creating a resume that brands you as a solution-oriented expert. And of course, general advice for your resume is to keep it very clear and very tailored to specific roles. To save yourself time, that means having different versions of your resume for different kinds of job descriptions. Don't tailor your resume each time. Instead, just have 3 versions and pick the one that works best for that specific role. Always track your response rate on applications. Right now in today's market, I don't have to tell you guys, it's really hard to get responses from job applications. So use recruiters. That's going to be your best ROI. But when you're applying to jobs, you want to try to aim for a 10% response rate. If you're hearing back from 10% of the jobs you're applying for, that's actually pretty good. If you're hearing back from more, amazing. Tell us your secrets. But if you're hearing from less, then there's something that we need to do to your resume to get you noticed. Or maybe you're applying for jobs that just aren't right for the skill set that you bring to the table. So happy to review your resume one-on-one and offer advice. If anyone would like to contact me, I'll put my email and phone number in the chat for anyone to reach out. But any other specific questions that anybody wants to dive into? That's just sort of my general advice right now with today's job market.
I have one actually, and
Sure.
I This was my second screw up of the day, so and it's being recorded that I'm confessing it. But I started the recording like 1 minute late, so you may want to just reintroduce yourself. And
Sure.
sorry.
Absolutely. So I am the VP of Operations and Delivery at TechChicks. My full name is Ava McLean, and I'm based in Chicago. But our company works with our recruiting firm works with companies all across the US. So feel free to reach out to me one-on-one if you'd like personal advice, and I'll be able to connect you with recruiters at TechChicks. Happy to review resumes, and then of course we'll gather your requirements to make sure that we're looking out for the right kinds of roles for you.
Absolutely, that'll be really great. Guys, if you have any questions, this is a good forum. Please raise your hands like now. Don't feel shy. Just make sure that your boss is not here today in case you are unhappy with the existing role, but otherwise you'll get into trouble. So, but yeah, otherwise just reach out to us through the email that you received. We would be happy to put you on to Eva. She has already shared in the chat how you can get in touch with her. Go ahead and print it and frame it in a gold frame, right? And put it in your office somewhere, right? So thank you, Eva. I absolutely, truly appreciate that. And I absolutely hope to see at least your mom. I know you're traveling to India, but I look forward to seeing at least somebody from TechChicks in December. And I will reach out to you about what you can do in Bombay. So, right.
Thank you, Paresh. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to get to be here. And yeah, again, excited to see you guys at the next SQL Saturday.
So, thanks. Take care. Okay, Gilda, it's all yours, my friend. If you have questions, guys, just raise your hands. I will go ahead and look into it. We are constantly monitoring the chat room here. Okay. So both
Awesome.
me and Valerie are both looking into it. So cool.
Hello,
Okay.
everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. That tells a lot about you and your motivation to learn. And I love people that are motivated because I am the kind of person that likes to teach a lot. So welcome. Today, we're going to talk about migrating SQL Server to Azure SQL Managed Instance. Now, there's many ways to skin the cat, right? Everybody can tell you you can do this way, that way. And it is true. There's many ways to do this, but what I'm going to show you are the ways that and once again, my name is Gilda Alvarez, and I'm a cloud architect, cloud database architect. So I manage databases in the cloud, and I migrate clients daily to the cloud. So because I do this all the time, I've been learning by pretty much knocking my head every time when something, what was that error? Okay, let me look at that, let me fix it, and then move forward. Because that's one of the things that I see a lot in the migrations to Azure is the unknowns. I think we have one more person. So who am I? So I graduated from UCF here in Central Florida. I've been working for companies like Deloitte, PwC's. I worked for Disney projects. I have my own company, and I did all kinds of projects in the Microsoft SQL Server, but currently I work as a cloud database architect for LTM or LT Mindtree or LTM. However, it's a new company now. And I'm also founder of a mentoring program for minorities, Latinas in data. I was part of one of the chapters, Central Florida for Latinas in data in tech. And I do what is called mentoring with a group of 50 Latinas in data. We mentor minorities into the areas of data and AI. And so today we're going to talk about DMS. Tools we're going to use SSMS. We're going to ARC ourselves into it. Well, I'm going to show you what ARC is. I know this is new. Actually, raise your hands if you are using ARC right now. Anybody? Raise your hand. No. Okay. So it's new. It's new. All right. So we're going to go from SQL Server to a managed instance. And the benefits, it's minimal downtime. Okay, this is where it gets very important. because it's all about making sure the environment is ready for you to do this. Many times there's like, it's like going into a mountains, right? You're going to have different levels of permissions, different levels. If you don't have the full picture and the full permissions, you're always going to encounter problems. So when I do the prerequisite, I'm like, okay, I need to be a contributor on that managed instance and the storage account. I need to have the reader role. I need to have for your resource group. I need to have contributor on the description. All of these are a little bit high permissions, but I don't ask for them. I ask the customer to have it so that I can guide the customer through the journey into the cloud. I call it the cloud, the journey to the cloud. Okay. So what is ARC? I have another presentation. And you know what? That's the presentation I'm going to do in July. I'm going to do the presentation of ARC because I got to teach you in an hour all of the things that ARC and how to set it up and all that. And what I'm going to do in December is going to be the workshop so that I can get you ARC enabled and migrating all at once. So by the end of that, you're going to be an expert migration architect. Okay. So what really ARC is a centralized control for all of your on-prem environment, but as if you were using it in Azure. It does everything like if you had all your servers in the cloud. So it has all of the bells and whistles that you can think of, right? One of what I really like about ARC is that capability of being able to see your servers, all of them. You can see what are your servers, what, downtime, what are the warnings of what's happening, all of that without having to pay for additional tools, right? So you have an inventory dashboard. It's all included and it's all free. And I will show you when you come up for SQL Saturday in December, how to set it up on your environment. And this is all free. It takes no time to set up. So it gives you all this inventory of your databases and anything that has to do with migration. It makes it so much easier to migrate your databases. Yes, Paresh, you have a question?
Yeah, so folks, those who don't know what she's talking about December. So we have a SQL Saturday here in December, and usually with the free SQL Saturday is a paid workshop that is held on Fridays. So if you are registered for the workshop, then you are automatically registered for the SQL Saturday. So just so you know, so the workshops typically cost around $700 or $800, but in the user group SQL Saturdays, we charge maybe 200 or 250 max. So, but this is not a marketing place for that. I just wanted you guys to get a proper reference of where this is coming from. And she says she's going to be talking about the same topic in July. That is for the DBA virtual user group, for which also I will share the link here.
Yes. So what I'm going to show you is, because it's a limited time, I'm going to show you how to enable it, how to get everything working, how to use all the wonderful tools that it has available for free. So you become, familiar with it. What I'm going to do later is show you how to use that tool for migrating, right? And that's almost one of the ways to skin the cat that I'm going to show you here. Okay. So the beauty of this tool is where you can see what's happening at the, from a high level, right? You're the central control type. This is your control and you're managing all your environments and, which servers are ready to migrate to SQL MI, which are not so ready to migrate to SQL MI or SQL DB or whatever option you have. So it gives you that picture. I think, personally, because this is new, and I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not, I would say maybe we had this presentation. By the way, my contract is with Microsoft, right? So I get to see what is being used immediately, right? And this is what we're using to migrate. So we go into your SQL servers, right? Your ARC environment has all your SQL servers and it'll show like if they were in the cloud. If you look at it, it looks like it's in the cloud, but it's actually on-prem. In here, you have an option to do data migrations. And you click in here, you can actually do an assessment. The tools that we used to use, which is Data Studio, has been deprecated. So this is the tool that will show you, okay, here are your issues that you have migrating this environment to SQL MI. It'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are your issues. So we will take and tackle each one of them. If it's something we can solve, okay, but there are other things that are not going to be solved. So it won't be a good thing or recommendation to take you to pass. So you might have to go and do a SQL VM, but the assessment will show that. So this is pretty much how we do this. We discover your environment. We're going to have a continuous assessment. So let's say you start fixing the environments and the store procedures, and now you feel more comfortable migrating SQL MI. We'll have an assessment that recommends what is the level SKU that you can be on an MI. It'll have all this information, cost, right? Is it cost efficient for us to go to SQL MI? So all of this will be provided through ARC. Through the provisioning, we can also create your managed instances through this with this tool, and then do the replication, which is using MI Link, which is a technology that we use through the cloud to take you to the cloud through, very easily. And then it can happen online or it can happen offline. We take you to the cloud immediately after that. So just to give you just a little picture of what we just saw, which is the discovery. Here is the assessment, right? For this specific environment. It's ready to go for SQL MI. It's ready to go for SQL VM. What I see, and I'm talking 200 clients just this 4 months that we've handled, very, very few qualify to the SQL DB. Most of our SQL DB are environments that are brand new, that are already kind of updated, and they have other, new packages to roll with it. Very few I have had to migrate. What I do many times is I use tools like SSMA for assisting the migrations to migrate from different platforms, from Postgres, from Sybase, from MySQL. All of these environments, we can use Arc as well. From MySQL Postgres, we can use it to migrate. And what we do is pretty much we take the schema, create the schema, and migrate the data with the data types changes. So, but we're not going to talk about that. Let's not get confused. Here, this specific customer does not qualify to be a SQL DB. So it'll tell me right there, and I know, okay, between these two, how much is this going to cost me? How much is this going to cost me? This looks a lot cheaper, but what are the benefits of going past, right? Let's all talk about why we're here as DBAs learning cloud. The facilities of having a provider to worry about your backups, worry about your performance, worry about your patching, worry about all that. That is included in your past solution. So this cost, when you add it at the end of the day, is 5 DBA jobs, right? That is why we cannot go against AI or the future, or we can't swim against the current. We as DBAs have to learn to navigate with the current. So learning the tools that are going to make us competitive and ready to be the human in the loop for AI, for SQL migrations, for anything. We are the experts that can guide all of these technologies to the future. So what you're paying really is for the elimination of some of those jobs and you being able to control all of these with the knowledge that you gain. That's why you're here tonight at 8 p.m. Well, it's 8 p.m. for me, but you're here to learn these tools, okay? And I like that. I like people that are motivated to learn. So here is what the assessment looks like. Right? So we have the assessment. We are going to recommend it to do this because blah, 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 blah. So it'll have all the recommendation reason for moving to that. The salesperson will probably go through the cost. I necessarily don't have to go through the cost because I'm just the engineer, but I can definitely switch into that role if needed. So we're ready. Here, I don't see any issues that will have any blockage, but if they would, it'll say ready with warnings or it'll tell me, But what I like is that I can already have that SKU recommendation so that I can also roll out that managed instance based on that recommendation. So here I'm going to select, this one is going to SQL DB, right? So this one says 6 issues are not ready, right? So let's not even go there. I'm not ready to fix service broker features on SQL DB. I'm not ready to do any of that. I'm going to go with the least painful, right? So SQL VM is one of them. Everything is ready. But like I said, your benefits of past supersedes the cost, I personally think. So the good thing about this assessment is that you can run it weekly, you can run it however you want. And it'll always keep you updated on your functionalities. And when you are trying to monetize whatever environment you can go, you can also look at the cost of a 3-year reservation, 1-year reservation with hybrid benefits for SQL, software assurance. You can, all of this tool is available to you through ARC. Okay? Any questions?
You don't use
Please.
the DMA for this?
See, we're going to use that. We're going to use that. But I want people to, so here, this is how we provision, right? It gave me an SKU. When I create the managed instance, here is where I go ahead and provision that managed based on the recommendations that I'm getting on that assessment, okay? So I'm going to get to your question. Give me 1 second. Because we are going to go with DMS. A little bit I'm going to show you that, but we're going to concentrate on ARC because that's what we're using the most, and that's what's eventually going to take over. I'm going to tell you, the tool is amazing. The tool works. I have already enabled half of all the banks in Latin America with this tool, maybe 1,000 to 16,000 servers. It's big. It's growing like exponentially. And once I already have them in ARC, then it's very simple to migrate, right? So you're going to have to learn this tool very well. I will show you how to use DMS because we're going to use DMS as well. But ARC takes care of through what is called MI links. Okay, so Managed Instance provides 0 downtime. So I can do an online migration and use the target as read-only replicas while the migration is happening. That's the great thing. We use what is called log replay services. So I don't know if you're familiar with log shipping, something very similar, but it has its own technology because now we're using fast as our target. Okay, so we still do SQL VMs, SQL Server to VMs as well. We use different tools, but at the end of the day, it's all happening under the covers. All right, so we're going to do an example of a migration to SQL MI. So you go to the server, go to migrations, go to data migrations, and select the target. We're going to select here. We're going to go to East, and we're going, Statia. And that is my managed instance that we have created based on the SKU recommendation that we just got. We click on their migrate data, and here are the great things. We're going to use MI link. That technology is it flows very easily. And I have so many options here, right? So I have all these databases that I can migrate all or select a few or however you want. You have that flexibility. And then we go to settings. I'm going to put the source SQL Server IP. I'm going to test the connection. And everything is ready to go. And it's migrating. That's why I like ARC. That is why it's so much easier to do. So this is going to take a little bit, but once it's done, you have a tool to monitor the migrations or to do your final cutover. So at this point, I'm ready to cut over. It's a matter of stopping the applications, making sure you have a nice window. Let's do it overnight. Which databases are we ready to cut over? And go. That's simple. So that's why I'm a big evangelist of the technologies that we're using now to do migration, because it makes it so much easier for you as the end user. And you would say, Gilda, this is so simple. Oh, but it's not. And this is where Gilda really helps, right? Because when you're migrating is the unknown, but you don't know policies that is blocking certain things, firewalls, private, connections. They don't want to go public. They want to do, you're like boom, 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 boom. All of these things that because you do it every day, it comes to second nature. But if you're doing this for the first time, it's like surgery, right? Anybody can do surgery, but you want to go, especially if it's heart surgery, you want to go to the experts and make sure that you know how to do it, or practice. You can definitely do this with practice. I usually mentor, so most of the people that we hire, I'm kind of like their mentor, and I do this presentation. That's why it's so easy for me, because I present to them and I present to the community and I present to them, and I'm building skills from everybody that has that gap, right? One of the other things that it does, it also it gives you the connectivities, right? What's connecting to your SQL Server, so that you kind of prepare to validate those connections. One of the things also that can help you do here is your SQL logins as well. So, okay. So what happens if you don't have ARC? The clients don't want to have ARC because they don't know what ARC is and they don't care. So we got to do this the good old CMS way, right? The good old creating a service in Azure that does all the thinking for you, because also we're not gonna think too much, because at the end of the day, we can do backup and restores. We can definitely just do backups and restore. But what if you have 1,000 databases? What if you have 100 databases? Are you going to do backups and restores for 1,000 databases? You got to think about it, right? So you have to see what the best tools out there are, right? So the first thing you did the assessment. You know exactly how big the managed instance is, and you're going to go and create your managed instance. So you're going to have to do it manually, and you create your managed instance. This is just a quick example. Raise your hand if you've created a managed instance before, please, before I continue, because it could be something very simple that you guys already know how to do, and I'm just going over. And anybody here has created a managed instance? Anybody? Okay, nobody. Perfect. So
Nobody.
once
Yeah,
again,
you're right.
so what is a managed instance, right? You already know, right? It's kind of like the sweet spot between the platform as a service of SQL DB and your SQL Server on-prem. What happens is taking you to SQL DB is such a findings of errors that we decided, or the Microsoft decided, to give you something very similar, easy to get you into the cloud with least of what is the risk conflict, right? And get you there at least so that you can taste the flavor of what PaaS is, platform as a service, right? From infrastructure as a service. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a managed instance. And I wanted to show you so that you kind of see that this is not rocket science, okay? We have a subscription. We're going to choose my resource group. We're going to give it a name, lowercase. Always use lowercase. We're going to put it in the East region, and we're going to configure it the cheapest one you have, because we're broke. And here, we're going to put 4 cores. Look, even being broke is a little high, but at least we can start our migration, right? So here, we want to make sure we use SQL, both SQL and Entra, Windows Authentication or Entra. We're going to give it a password. Because here, what you're going to do is you're going to give administrator rights to either your SQL admin, whatever you want to call it, whatever. You don't want to call it SA, right? We're going to call it SQL admin. And make sure you type the right password, not like me. But also what I recommend is for you to set yourself as an administrator, because if you lose the password and you don't have access to Azure, then it's a pain, right? So make sure you add yourself, right, to as an administrator, and make sure you type the right password. And now you have 2 ways in. You have your SQL admin, and Entra. Now we go to network, and here I can create a brand new VNet, or I can use one that is already there. You know, it's up to the network team, however you want me to do. I'm going to allow this to be a public endpoint. I can disallow it and make it a private. And those are the things that I go over on my specific uh, workshops, how to do this. And that's it. We're going to make sure we have the same collation that we have on-prem, because once you mess up the collation, you're going to have to delete it and start over. And then that's it. Do your tags, however you want to tag your organization. That's up to you. But for the purpose of what we're doing here, which is a migration to SQL MI, you are now an expert on creating managed instances. Okay, done. It's doing it for you. So now that we have created that, what I use is storage account, right? Anybody familiar with storage accounts, right? Storage accounts are pretty much storage in the cloud, right? So here I have SQL, Gilda SQL backups with my storage account, and I use share access tokens to put my backups in there. So I have the read, and I have list, and I generate a token. This token is, this name here is very important. So you have to copy and paste it somewhere else, because that's your key. This one is one part, and after the question mark is the other part, which is the token itself. So you're going to have to save that, because we're going to use it in a minute. Keep it safe. Okay. And then what I do is I usually work with OLA scripts, right? Anybody here familiar with OLA? Raise your hand.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank God. All right. All right. He's a good friend of mine. He's the one who's like, if there's a hurricane, he's like, Gilda, are you okay? I'm like, yes, Ola, I'm okay. He's always checking on me when the hurricanes come to Florida. Okay. So why reinvent the wheel, right? I can use OLA scripts to point my backups straight to the storage account, because DMS, Azure Data Migration Services, is only a orchestrator. It connects to your source, it connects to your target. It's not going to do your backups, okay? It just knows that you have put a backup on that storage account, and knows what goes after the backup, and knows when it's ready to finish the migration. That's all it knows. So we're going to have to manually point those backups to the storage account. So I use OLA, and I go, if you look at the OLA backups, and you look at, let's say, the system database, or any of you edit any of the jobs, you're going to have an option here that's called directory, right? Directory null. Well, we're going to use something called URL to point the location. So what I recommend is for you to use your full backup, right? Right here, full. And go into the job, edit it, and use, remember what I told you? Use your URL. That location that was before the question mark, it's going to go up here, which has your container, which is existing inside of your storage account. So that, because I have a SaaS connection, I will create a credential. So I don't have the scripts here, but I'm going to send you the link on how to create those credentials. It's just a script. It creates a credential with the SaaS token so that it knows how to connect to the cloud. But you also have to have certain capability to access the internet, right? And this is where many people start having issues, because sometimes SQL Server environments don't have access to the internet. So you have to have a way out to point to the URL, right? So all of these things are things that I've encountered. So I've had to overcome many of these things. So really quick, once we have those backups already running with the credential, now guess what? Now we can use Azure Database Migration Services. So what is Azure Database Migration Services? It's just this tool, right? It's, you go to Azure, you select your source, You select your target. We're going to SQL MI. It's kind of like an orchestrator. It knows that it's going to migrate from here to here. And that's it. That's all it knows. However, right, we know that we already have a storage account, that we are putting backups in there. So here, this is the resource group we're using. This is the location. And I've already created that service, right? Sorry, we're going to create the service right now. Next. And then we're going to tag it. By the way, the newest SSMS tool has all of this available through Data Expose, which is kind of like a YouTube channel that shows how to do all of this. Okay. If you haven't downloaded the latest SSMS 22.5, please do so. It has so many new things. It's just going to make your life easier. Okay. All right. So now we have created the service. We're going to do the migration. And all you have to do is pretty much go through the same thing. Now we're going to use the blob storage that we have created with those backups that are going there. One of the things that OLS script does is create folders. So once you have the container, just point to the container and it'll create each folder for each of the databases. You cannot do DMS or backup and restores straight to the container. You have to have a folder for each of the databases. That is very important. Okay, I don't want you to mess up because that's the first thing people mess up, right? They put all the backups in the container and then they can't restore. So make sure that you do that. And of course, you select the blob storage. This is going to be an offline, right? And then you start your migration, right? And then select your resource group, the storage account, the container, the folder, the last backup, and your target database. That's it. And then you let it go. You just let it run. See? There you go. This is where all of the migration steps. So you can see.
So not to be picky, but so it used Ola script to create a backup,
Yes.
which will be stored in a blob storage. And
Yes.
from the blob storage, it goes and restores it to the MI.
From the DMS, Data Migration Services. So the Azure Data Migration Services, because we created that service right in the beginning, it knows when we're doing this migration to point to the source, which is SQL Server, and go into an MI that we're going to select here, right? When we did the target, and it uses, because it knows that your source was backing up to that storage, it knows exactly what the last backup was, what is the next transaction log, and it will do the restores for you.
Cool. Makes sense.
Cool.
Yep.
So the other way to do it, right, is through SSMS, right? So SSMS has now on 22.5 an amazing migration alternative. It's through Arc. So it's the same thing. The difference between doing this here than doing it in Azure is that here you have no restriction to your instance because you're doing it from the instance. So it has access to your databases. Let's say you do it from the Azure portal. You have to have that connectivity ready. You have to have DNS route, all of these things that make that connection that comes from the cloud all the way to the SQL Server. So personally, when I do assessments, I like to use the SSMS tool because at that point, I know if it's a candidate to even go to SQL MI. So at that time, if it's not a candidate, maybe then we're not going to waste any more time, right? It's a no-no. But if it is a candidate, then we can work on setting up the ports and everything that needs to open to connect from your on-prem to the Azure subscription to be able to do the same thing we did with Azure migration services from on-prem down, from the cloud down. We can do it from here up. Okay. So once we have that assessment that says you're good to go, I go into selecting the target, creating the manage or SKU recommendation. It'll allow me to create the managed instance, migrate the data, and monitor. The same way from down up. And the other one was from up down. Okay. Now let's get a little bit more advanced. And this is one of the things that I try to do it the best way I can, because when do you use log replay services, right? Because you have all these tools. These are amazing tools to do these migrations, but you may want to use log replay for when you want more control for your projects, right? When, of course, when there's little tolerance to downtime. We can use these tools backups, and it brings it down. It'll take whatever time it takes. It'll be restored on the other end. We meet the whole weekend. You know, if your customer is ready for that, which are 90% of the customers that I work with, it's okay. But if you have a situation where it can have no downtime, then you bring the big guns, right? So you bring the big guns. Most of my log replay services have been done in code. It has not done through the data migration services. I personally have kind of like I have not done one myself. I feel like it works very well, but these are usually very large environments, very, very large. So I would like to have control of these environments and be more individual scripts. I have scripts for these as well. So no access to the host operating system is available, and there are no administrative privileges. So once you start fitting all of these things, you start thinking, okay, what are my 15 ways to skin the cat? Okay. You need to use differential backups when the database migration service executable file can't be installed in your environment. So let me show you how this looks like. Oh, first of all, it has been tested on these type of migrations, right? SQL Server on-prem boxes, SQL Server virtual machines, Amazon, Google, Alibaba Cloud. All of these have been tested, so it works. So this is just an example of how I do LRS. And it literally is just code, right? We want to make sure that we have your managed instance name, your resource group, your databases, your URL. Everything has to, because if you have a space or something that is not there, it's going to come up with some errors, and you don't want to have to deal with that. Okay. And of course, you need your SaaS token, because we're doing the same thing, right? But we're using it more individualized, right? So let's say I want to start on the large database first, and maybe I'll use DMS for the other databases. But I want this started right away because this customer cannot be down, right? So I would run this command. I can use either this command first, and then I use code basically to see what the status is on each of this environment. The status is waiting here. It's detected 8 files. And let's say that I finish all of them, but now I need to run another transaction log backup in order to get the last transactions from this. I have the option of having what is called that last backup so that I can get this environment up to date. Like, this is just an example of how things get migrated, but at the end of the day, what I want you to do is I want you to see what the last code is, which is you run this command, this one here, that says that the 9th was detected, right? And it's restoring. So the last command with the last backup is restoring right now. I had already stopped the other environment. This one is ready to go live. So nobody make changes on the other one. And I just have to wait for this thing to complete. So I'm doing refresh right now to make sure that the status says complete. I just continue to refresh until I see the status to complete. Still, sorry, this is the last backup that I ran. That's it. And now still restoring. Hold on. It'll take some time. It should say complete. Restore, restore, restore. Uh-oh. So it's done. It should say restore. Restoring. It's still restoring. Okay. Let's do this. Oh, I'm just showing that the database that the table that I created on the other end made it to the other end through this. So refresh. And here's the table that I created. I backed it up and restored it. You have to play with this. So there's no other way to learn this, to use LRNs by playing with it. So here it is. That's the table I created. So now that I apply the last backup, it actually brought that last table. Okay. Any questions? I will provide this presentation to you guys so you guys can play with it. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm here to help you guys on your journey to the cloud.
Very well done, Gilda.
Let
Let
awesome.
me see if anybody has questions. Guys, you want to come and have a social chat? I can also help you get unmuted and all that good stuff. If you want to, go ahead. Let me know. I think
When
this
we
was
do our
fabulous.
workshop, I will make sure that I guide you. Like I do my clients, you will be my client. I'm going to show you how to do everything from scratch. Because what I'm trying to present here is a lot of ways of doing things. And like you said, 15 ways to skin gap. But to be honest with you, doing it yourself, you'll see what you feel that to me, these are the best ways to do it. But whatever you feel more comfortable, whatever the environment feels like it's comfortable. If you need to use log replay, go ahead. If you don't, you can just have my link. You can use this. It all depends on you, how much work you want to do this, how much time you have outage. If it's a very critical, like, very critical customer, you don't have an option. You have to do, very specific ways.
I have a question though.
Yes, sir.
Maybe for next time when you speak for the DBA user group. Let me just stop the recording. Valerie, you want to do the honors? Go ahead and stop the recording and you can close it out while I talk to her. Go ahead, Valerie, go ahead and close it. Yeah.
Not sure how to close it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll catch up later. No worries. So I'm going to stop the recording now.